Welcome everyone to a new gameplay series on Starsector. Starsector is top-down 2D space combat / exploration / trading or economic simulation. I can just read from the website itself. They do a very good job of explaining their own game. Starsector is a single-player sandbox style space role-playing game with strategic elements. I think that's pretty well put. Another line of theirs says Starsector, formerly Starfarer, and that's a good point to make out. This game used to be Starfarer, but I think they ran into some copyright issues, so it's now titled Starsector. Anyways, it's an in-development, open-world, single-player, space combat, role-playing, exploration, and economic game. So there's a few things that I want to point out from that line. One is in development. This game is, I think it's been in early access or whatever, in development. It's not on Steam or anything like that, but it's been worked on for many years actually. I think it started in 2012 or 13. I first became aware of this game around 2015 when it was already called Starsector. And then I've been kind of following its progress because this reminds me a lot of Escape Velocity, which is a childhood favorite of mine. Very similar in my opinion, the top-down type perspective, the text that is used a lot for the interactions. In fact, even if you've never heard of it, I still recommend, despite the game being very old, that you even check out Escape Velocity Nova, which has, in a weird way, it has one of the best stories I've ever encountered in a game. If you are comfortable reading through, a lot of text. It's a text-based story, but I find it very compelling. So anyways, go check out Escape Velocity Nova. That's kind of a nice game to have like on your laptop when you're traveling. You can just go do another storyline. There's, I think, 11 or 12 of them for the main story. But this is Starsector, and I think that it reminds me a lot of that mainly because of the mechanics of it, not because of there's a story. Starsector, still being in development, doesn't have a story per se, or at least not one that I'm aware of or could find. It's more about the sandbox then. So let's get into a new game, and we'll start looking at these things ourselves. We'll choose this portrait of what looks like the scientist from Independence Day, the movie, the one with Will Smith in it. I forgot his name, but anyways, this kind of like friendly scientist-looking type captain. This sector H you can mess around with to determine the random systems which are generated outside the core worlds. The core worlds are always the same, but you can get more resources or you can get more inhabited planets. I don't really know how that impacts the gameplay. I've only ever done the default. And now we're in our character creation screen. So we gain 2,000. You have either the first option, which is a bounty hunter, which gives you the Wolf class frigate. This is mainly what it does. Or you can pretend you were a scavenger, or roleplay you're a scavenger commanding this freighter, combat freighter. I think the better option here is the combat freighter, even though my style of play is going to be basically a bounty hunter. I'm going to be hunting down ships with bounties on them, making money that way. But the extra cargo capacity and mainly the fact that we're going to be getting a better combat ship, better than either of those options, pretty quickly regardless. So I'd rather have a secondary ship with more cargo space than have a better support ship. Because we'll get a support wolf, which was the other option as well. Now these two options, I feel like there's only one good option. The first one, you can choose a wolf. Those are pretty effective fighters, but I really think the Shepherd class drone tender is a good choice. First of all, you get machinery and you get better scavenging. This is really important. It's a nice support function for your fleet. The shuttle would have given you a commander, another officer to command ships, which is useful, but I feel like this option is still better overall. We're going to do normal, and we're going to start with the tutorial. So there's a lot of things I want to discuss while different tutorial stuff is going on. The tutorial is going to introduce a lot of wall of text. I'm not going to read through it, but I'll try to pause long enough at any one point in the game, or when the text is there, so that you can just pause the video at that moment and read it all yourself if you so choose. But I won't be pausing to read it myself. I imagine that we won't even get through the tutorial in this first episode, but the tutorial does a really good job of exposing you to most of the aspects of the game. So I feel like we'll already have, if this first episode is supposed to be both like a review and the start of our Let's Play series, or even like a let's look at type thing, it'll probably give you a good exposure to what this game is all about. So again, I'm not going to read through this. A lot of these tutorial messages are just slowly going to introduce us to different abilities that we have. So that's what we'll be doing. And I'll pause. Okay, so our first order of business is going to be to scavenge from this field. And it says likely risk that, likely chance that we'll find something, low risk that something bad happens. Normally this is what you are required to have, and this is what you currently have, which in which case we'd be short in both of these, but because it's the tutorial, I guess it doesn't matter. And we get all the stuff we need anyway, which is nice. Very generous, of course. This is what you kind of expect out of the tutorial. We have to quick save to keep going, so we'll just do that real fast. Now what I was saying is there's going to be some stuff, like we're going to want to... Okay, yeah, we have pirates coming, that's right. There's going to be some stuff I want to talk about, and as the... yeah, we might as well just go meet this guy. As the different tutorial chain events are playing out, there's going to be some other stuff I want to talk about, like one of the things I want to talk about is the economy. They say that there's an economy system, and there truly is. But it's a little deceptive because it's not like your normal X series, escape velocity, your freelancer, and I assume EVE Online. I don't really have any exposure with that. Here, by the way, we're getting into a tactical combat situation, so I'll probably stop talking about the economy just for a second. We'll get back to that in a moment. But basically what I want to say is that it's not as easy to trade in this game as any of those other games. There's a huge tariff, and well, it imposes a very strict view of how you can make money. I'm gonna try. I'm really quite terrible actually with this ship, but I'll do my best here to use my ion frigates, and also we're using mainly the drones. So those drones behind shooting the red beam. Oh my god, we're overloading. Let me hit the event. Those drones are going to do a lot of damage for us, which is great. And that's the support ship aspect I was talking about. Let's see if we can land some ammunition on this guy. It looks like he might be kind of... I have a very inaccurate weapon up front. But it looks like we're going to go ahead and take this guy down finally. This gun is now back online, so I'm going to kind of drift backwards. You can see the text is pretty difficult, but thumper online, Vulcan cannon disabled, you know, all that stuff is pretty hard to read. I also could have hit R to actually highlight his ship, and I should have locked on like that, but anyway, it worked out well enough. At the end, we get to collect some credits from the corpse, basically, and our relationship with whatever faction this unit was a part of has decreased, in this case the pirates. It doesn't really matter that we have decreased our relationship with the pirates. Even if you want to be a pirate, I don't think it matters. So now it's going to tell us our fleet's supply consumption has gone up. That's over here. We're at negative 5.5. Our running cost is less than 0.5 a day, typically. So basically this is the game's way of making you repair your ship. You do it through expending supplies. And you do that by just increasing your supply cost per day, your supply usage per day, until your ship's combat readiness is back up to its nominal value. I can showcase that a little bit more with F. We can see that we're currently at 61%. It'll increase by 8% a day. And our maximum CR, combat readiness, is 70%. So that just shows you that combat readiness is basically, well, it is what it sounds like, how ready your ship is for combat. But I would say that one step further, there's little breakdown points where if your combat readiness is too low, you'll start having ship-wide malfunctions. And I think that it also affects some base abilities on your ship. Anyway, we're going to quick save here because that's what the tutorial has us do a lot, is just quick save a whole bunch. And we'll do that. And this is going to showcase us next the RPG element of things. Basically, we can open our character, and you can think of this as like a tech tree, or I think it's still probably a little better to think of it as like an RPG skill tree. And we have 4 categories we can put things in: combat, leadership, technology, industry. Some of these are fleet-wide, and some of them are for just your own piloted ship, which they'll differentiate between those with the little gray text and parentheses at the very end of the skill. The ones I find the most valuable, I think, obviously, are the ones that impact your entire fleet. For example, the one I find like incredibly valuable is this one, the 10% ordnance points at level 3. I really like this because I like to min-max designs, ship designs. I do that in many other games. Distant Worlds Universe, I spent so many hours min-maxing designs there. And more ordnance points just gives you basically more points to build stuff with, or more points to put stuff on your ship with. So I really enjoy that. The flux capacitors and the flux vents, I didn't really explain it, but there was 2 bars in the combat, and I'll just showcase it the next time we get into combat, which won't be in too long from now. Flux capacitor is just basically how much total flux you can build up. You can think of flux as just heat. You generate heat when you're using shields, when you're firing weapons, etc. And flux vents is obviously how fast you dissipate the heat from your capacitors. So these are all good things, more of those. The other one I really like is this one, which is only for your piloted ship. Now this increases the amount of flux capacitors and flux vents you can have, but each of those still costs ordnance points, which I can show you just by going to F, the fleet screen. Actually, let's go to R, refit. We don't want to refit in the field, which is what it's going to say. We want to refit at port, but just to demonstrate, we have 45 ordnance points here. But you can see, even if I have ordnance points available, each of these cost 1 ordnance point, but I'm at my max number of capacitors. And there's other ways you can get more capacitors, usually by adding these, but one of these capacitors is giving us like 200 flux capacity each. And this one, whoops, let me not do that, but do it this way. This increases our capacity by 600 for 4 points. So you can see this is, instead of costing 3 points, it costs 4 points for us to get 600. So it's always slightly less efficient to use the whole features to add capacitors or vents. It's always better to do it with the capacitors and vents directly, which is why having increased the maximum number of them here is good, especially if you get level 3, 10% ordnance points basically just allows you to have 10% more capacitors or vents. Now, the other one I like here is useful because it doesn't require you to actually put any extra capacitors or vents on your ship. It just makes each of those individual units better just right away. Like my flux capacitors with level 1 are just 10% better than anybody else's. Another one that we're going to eventually get is level 2 here. We have fuel consumption, and I just like this tree a lot. Combat is also obviously has a lot of useful things, because especially if you're going to be using combat. And I still want to get back to this thing about shopping and tariffs, and trading, how it's kind of a fool's errand to try to undertake it. At least I'm not experienced enough with how it works to get it to work, and I think we'll just put our 2 points. We might do this just so we can get to level 3 faster. And then I'll start working on this with my ship. I think we'll do that. So I'll go ahead and G confirm this, and we'll continue. Now we're going to get a mission to go to Anserna. Very good. Lay in a course. So let's hit tab. Zoom in a little bit. This is our system map. We can also eventually look at the sector map, which is the galaxy basically. And we're here in Galatia. But in Galatia we have this distance to travel for Anserna. So we'll click, hold, lay in course, and unpause. In fact, we can even hit shift to speed up time. In a second, we'll also be given, let me actually go around this thing. We'll be given another ability which will help us speed up a little bit more. There we go, sustained burn. So let's get that activated right away. And I'm gonna go around these like obstacles. You don't have to. What we're gonna notice is my speed here with sustained burn, I can tell you, is supposed to be 19. However, because we're in an asteroid belt, it's being slowed down to 17 or slower. And now, we skirted by a nebula there, but if we had actually been caught in the nebula, I'll hit A to resume course because we have Anserna in our autopilot. If I had gone through the nebula, I would have slowed down to 14 or so. Okay, this is another good point that we have to turn on our transponder. So I'm going to turn that on real fast. If you don't have your transponder on when you're in a government space, we're in the hegemony space right now. Pirates obviously don't care too much about it, but these governments, they will actually go and harass you if you don't have your transponder on. They'll scan your cargo. Your relationship with that government will decrease. So it's good to have it on, but you want to turn it off a lot of times too, especially if you're in if you're up to any kind of nefarious deeds like blacks, trading on the black market and all that. You want to turn your transponder off. So pretty cool dynamics. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. I'm just skimming the surface. Let's browse the personnel. Okay, so I'll say I could use a refresher on events, so hopefully you can just pause quickly and grab this if you want to read it. I don't, but I mean, I've already read it, so okay, why me? What's the point? And if they notice me, so basically he's giving us a mission to go over to some pirate base, and he's giving us another ability. You know what, I don't think we have anything we need to do here. I'm just going to escape and move out right away. So hit tab, click and hold, lane course, good. Things that he was telling us there are transponder is going to increase our range of detection. You can see like this is our sensor strength and this is our detection profile. So very disproportionate. So let's turn off our transponder and let's also disengage our sustained burn. You can see in the last line in white right about here it says also increases the range at which fleet can be detected by 100%. So doubles our detection radius, which is not good. So ideally we can just sneak in here. I think he spotted us. Yep. So we'll just have to... Actually, we can go dark here if we want. Going dark, this option right here, it decreases our detection range. It just decreases our speed quite a lot as well. So I think they're going back. We'll just follow them back in. Because now you can see our detection range is 345, but our detection profile is 195, so much smaller than our we're much harder to detect than it is for us to detect other people. And there we go. Got in. Let's go to the personnel. We're supposed to make contact with this person. Fair enough. Let's get out of here. And next thing we're going to do is actually engage sustained burn once again, which is going to make us noticeable probably to this guy, but sustained burn is also the highest top speed. So it's unlikely that if he doesn't catch us before we begin our burn, he's not going to catch us at all. Okay, so I forgot to actually do some black market trading there. Black market trading, one of the things that is nice is that you get around the tariffs, which I still haven't really talked about yet, but the downside is it destabilizes the planet you're trading with, and it also usually hurts your relationship with them. For pirates, obviously, we don't care about that. But for example here, okay, we'll just do this. We brought the stuff. We need to now go get a data core. I've done this mission a few times. Excuse me. I'll see what I can do. Okay, so they gave us another ability, active sensor burst. We're just going to need that. Actually, leave, I guess. Okay, we got a quick save. I was going to visit the market there to kind of showcase what I was talking about, the black market, but okay, it's not going to... Actually, no, I really do want to go there because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I want more crew. I always forget to do this. I'm going to try it this time. Oh, yeah, I don't have my transponder on, so they won't even do business with me. Now they will. Very good. So that's showing us how to do stuff I already know. I don't want to sell metals here because we only have 47. Light assault gun and Vulcan cannon. I don't care about this light assault gun. Let's clear that for space. And what I want to do is actually collect more crew. And we can only collect, it looks like 75 total. Here's my cargo space, 117 out of 200. Here's my crew quarters, 75 out of 75. And my fuel, 59 out of 80. Now, you don't use fuel on intrastellar travel, traveling between planets. You only use fuel unless you're doing like an emergency burn or something, which we don't even have access to yet, I think. Or if you're doing interstellar travel, we'll use fuel. Still, how much is this going to affect the price? Anyways, you can see here the big thing is this tariffs, 30%, which I guess is finally the segue into me talking about it. I'll go ahead and accept that. Okay, so on the way over, let's go ahead and talk about tariffs a little bit now. Basically, the normal economic model you see in most games is like you have to buy maybe 10%, 15%, maybe even 20% higher than what you bought at, and 20% would be pretty prohibitive. But in this game, it's even worse. There's an automatic 30% tax on whatever good you're buying. This is before you can even find a price difference that would, be beneficial anyway. So it still has the same kind of caveat that you have to find a trade route to begin with, but that's without the tariffs. Now we're going to do an active sensor burst here. We see what we want to see there. Unidentified entity, yes, go to it. So this makes, but this 30% tariff makes it just impossible even when you find a good price difference. And I'll demonstrate this with a quick thought experiment. If we have a good which is costs 100 and we can sell it for 200 at second place. Okay, we'll go back into some more combat here. I'll deploy everything because I'm actually really not very good with this ship. What is it? The Wayfarer class, the combat freighter. I'm not very good with it. I actually need. We're wasting more supplies by deploying all these things. It's a strategic option you're given, whether or not to deploy everyone. But, anyways, we'll just deploy them all. And I'll probably just talk through the combat here about this thing I'm trying to say. So let's 100%, which means with tariffs you bought it for 130. You go over and you're going to sell it for 100% markup, 200. But with the tariffs, that 200 is in fact actually still only 140 because you get the 30% of 200 is 60, which means you have to spend 60 on tariffs, and you're only gaining 100. Your net price after that is only 140. So you can see how prohibitive it is. These tariffs, they just make it darn near impossible to make any money off the economy. And that's the thing I wanted to really caution about, is basically there's not a real trading model built in. You have to do quite a lot of work in order to get the trading to work. So just a word to the wise that if you're playing this game for trading, like the same way I was playing a lot X Series or EVE Online probably had price trading like this, and we're losing a lot of these drones here. But that's fine. They were meant to be destroyed, right? I can see that this ship is actually really good at destroying drones. It's nice. It's nice to have this secondary thing as a fleet support, though, because it is. There we go. We'll bring up the full amount of info on that right before we destroy it. So if you're expecting to be able to be a trader, like I tend to like to do, I like to do little trade runs just to get myself familiar with the game. It's kind of like let me sit and while I'm doing my trade route, kind of explore the universe. It's usually the way I use my trade routes. It's really hard to do in this game. There's times when there'll be like food shortages and stuff, and they'll do like 3 times the price they'll buy the food for. In which case you can actually make a profit, but in general it's not possible. Now, even though I got crew, we don't have enough. But because this is a tutorial thing, we can pound it into scrap and still get what we need out of this debris field. So we'll go ahead and scavenge. And although technically we don't have... Oh, we do have enough available. Okay, we'll begin salvage operation. This is the thing we came for, the Gamma Core. Note, sell price 10,000 credits. That's a lot. But, oh yeah, okay, we've taken on more than we can have, which is by 2 fuel. We don't need... I'll actually get rid of 2 fuel here. So we'll just leave that floating in space. We don't need it. Now we're going to need to, as it says down here, return to Incerna with the AI core. Let's go sustain burn. So yeah, I just wanted to make that point. I think that this is not by chance that this economic model exists. It's obviously a development decision. So I don't know why they made trade so prohibitive, but they've done it. And it's important for you to know that I think almost by a huge margin, the best way of making money in this game is to do bounty hunting. I'm not sure if this is... Obviously, this game is still in development, and these things can be tweaked. There's plenty of time. But there's no set release date right now. Well, we don't know when it'll go. It's done when it's done, is what they say. And we have no idea... Whoops. Oh, I had my transponder on, but that was just by accident. So everything we see here is subject to change. Okay, we lost the data core, but at least we got 8,000 for it. This is all a tutorial thing, right? So I'm just doing the missions. We're just gaining this stuff for free. Okay, now I just skipped through that a little fast. Sorry if you're trying to read it. Basically, we need to go and fight a huge enemy force which is blocking the gateway to interstellar travel. We can't with our current allotment of ships, so they're allowing us to go and take some ships from basically a ship graveyard. So that's what we'll go do next. While we're doing that, I will take a drink of water. And this will probably be the last thing we do before we call this video to a close, because the next big fight can actually take a while, maybe even 10 minutes. So let's move, save, and burn. Okay, Hammerhead class destroyer. This is exactly the ship I want to command with. So this is the only one that is absolutely necessary that we recover. I forgot to get enough crew. Okay, let's recover it. And wait, can I not now and leave? All right, let's go back. I forgot to buy crew. Sorry. So I'll hold shift to speed this up. Let's go back quickly. No. Not info. Main course. I'll speed this up with shift. So we'll probably call this video to a close after I get the ships done, just because it's a good break point. Okay, and what I wanted to do here was get more crew so that we can actually pilot these guys with the... Oh, that's right. I forgot that in all the text we just had, get one more. One of the things that said was that he actually gave us the hegemony guy we're working for, doing all the mission chain for it. He actually gave us a civilian transport. I think that's what it is. Something which carries crew. So that we can actually get rid of a little bit of fuel as well. We don't need it. This 30% tariff, I'm telling you, it just kills you. And you can avoid it with the black market, but that's something, maybe a mechanic. It's very interesting, but I don't want to go into it now because we don't have enough time. So let's just, are we okay here? I always like to buy supplies. How are they here? 115, that's pretty expensive. Let me just get 5 or 7 to give us an even 50. And that's okay. That's good for now. So let's go back out. Let's go to this again. And hold shift so that it speeds up a little bit. So that Hammerhead is the one I want. I also want the Wolf, the original ship we passed up in the character creation. We actually get one of those here, but so the D stands for like degraded or destroyed or dilapidated, whatever you want. It just stands for not as good. It's like the worst class of ship. You can see here under the title, it says lasting damage, degraded engines, glitch sensor array. So this thing is not, we can actually see the damage here. Maximum burn is down from 9 to 8, that's horrible. And the shield flux per damage is actually up, top speed is down. The degraded engines is actually just terrible. It actually affects the way I normally fight too, so this will be difficult, but it's random which defects, maybe that's what D stands for, defect. Full of defects? Defectful? Let's consider ship recovery and actually get it now that we have the crew to recover it. Okay, good. So we have that one. It's going to say, okay, we have combat readiness below 20%. Well, eventually that'll get patched up just as our supplies are used to repair it. Okay, so Tarsus, this one we're just going to, we didn't even get an option to recover it. We'll just salvage it. Now move on to the next one. Kite, this is another one which we will not recover, just salvage it. Okay, next, go down, this looks like a buffalo maybe. Yeah, buffalo, salvage, take all, continue. We have another small ship here. Is this the Wolf? It is. Okay, so the Wolf is a great support ship. So we do have a chance of getting one. It's a D. So it's not going to be as good. This one has unreliable subsystems and faulty power grid. I'd actually prefer any of those over... I think unreliable engines or whatever the Hammerhead we have now has is the worst one. So we'll consider ship recovery. We'll get it. Takes 10 supplies to repair it. Okay, good. And we have a few more which we're just going to collect because we don't want any other ships. We have all the ones we want. Although, that's perfect we ran into this one because I do want to say this Condor class is our first carrier. We have that one ship, our drone tender, which allows us to deploy a few drones, which are pretty weak. They only fire mining lasers, which are not very powerful. This Condor actually has the ability to launch real fighters, and that makes it really valuable. I actually recommend, if it's your first time playing, that you actually take this one, that you recover it. But I'm not going to because I have my own playstyle and I have a certain amount of confidence that we can win even without this thing. And one of the negative sides with accruing a big fleet is that all those ships require more supplies And I end up finding that supplies is a pretty limiting factor on your ability to just adventure or explore. So we'll just salvage the rest of these two, and then we'll probably call this video to a close before the big fight. And the next episode we'll probably outfit the Hammerhead, and after that we'll move on over and have this big fight at this inner system jump point. I think that's where the fight happens. So let's do sustain burn. Coming up on, we're passing 30 minutes in the video anyway, so this is already a bit lengthy. Another big complaint I have about this game, I just want to say, because I'm trying to use this first episode as kind of like both an overview and a review. I mean, both of those things in addition to also being the start of a Let's Play series. So dismiss that. So one of the other things I really want to say is don't lock yourself into a, what was it called? Don't get a commission with any nation. They don't tell you this, but you can't get out of your commission with any nation unless you go to like -50 or -20 or some like negative thing on the diplomat. I find this frustrating, and I hope that this is something which is patched eventually, excuse me, that you should be able to like somehow leave your contract with a nation. You shouldn't be stuck in, especially because when you naively just join one like I did, you don't realize all the, that there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't be joining. Anyway, I think we'll just get rid of all the metal again, just to free up some more space. We don't need more personnel because although we have 175 out of 305, so we have plenty of space for more, we only need 110 for maximum operation, for like maximum efficiency of operation. So let's get rid of those. Vulcan cannons are pretty useful, so I'll keep that. And I like to keep these ordnance. I don't care about the light autocannon, so I'll get rid of that. I think, wait, do I care about the light autocannon? It's worth like nothing. 31 credits. You'd have to buy it for 150. We sell it for this. This is, I'll keep it. By the way, the damage types, I'll go over all this next time, but just your brief guide is kinetic works against shields, high explosive works against armor. So they have like specialization for the weapons. And then there's other ones that work equally good against both energy. And then there's flak, which works against worse against both shield or armor, but works really good against hull. So did we get our storage space yet? No, not yet. Okay, well, I think that happens as soon as we go back here. Speaking of weapons, okay, good. Now we actually have the chance to outfit our ship, which we'll do next, and we'll come back to him when the job's done. But I'm going to escape and pause here and call this video to a close. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of overview / review / beginning of the Let's Play series. If you did, just because it is the first episode in this series, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could press the like button, and I won't ask that in the future. Otherwise, stay tuned for the next episode coming up soon. My takeaway point from this game is that I really enjoy it, and I'm not sure how long our series will go on, but if you're interested in seeing a little bit more, feel free to stick along for the remainder of the series. So until the next episode, thanks for watching, and take care.